The scout ship descended silently through Earth's atmosphere, its sleek metallic surface shimmering faintly as it adjusted to the planet's gravity. Inside, Commander Vrax stood tall in the control room, his sharp eyes scanning the monitors displaying images of the blue-green world below. Beside him, Lyra, his second-in-command, adjusted the settings on their cloaking device. The Zorathians had studied this planet from afar for years, and what they saw convinced them that its inhabitants were weak, small, and unworthy of notice. But today, they would confirm it firsthand. The ship landed softly in a dense forest near a quiet American town. Trees swayed gently in the breeze, and birds chirped noisily above. To Vrax, this place seemed primitive, chaotic, and unorganized. He gave the order to deploy drones, small hovering machines designed to gather data without being detected. As the drone zipped out into the open, Vrax leaned back in his seat, confident that this mission would be quick and uneventful. Meanwhile, in the nearby town, Alex Carter was busy tinkering with an old car engine in his garage, a wiry man in his early 30s with grease-streaked hands and a determined expression. Alex prided himself on fixing things others thought were beyond repair. His neighbor, Mia Lopes, stopped by to check on him. She was carrying a stack of papers filled with notes for her high school history class. "Still working on that thing?" Maya asked, leaning against the doorway. Her dark hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and she wore a warm smile that always made Alex feel at ease. "Yeah," Alex replied, wiping his hands on a rag. "It's almost done. Just need to figure out why the fuel line keeps clogging." Before Maya could respond, a strange humming sound filled the air. Both turned toward the woods, where something glinted briefly between the trees. It looked like metal, but disappeared too quickly for either of them to be sure. Curious, Alex grabbed a wrench and started walking toward the noise, motioning for Mia to stay behind. But Mia wasn't one to sit idly by. Rolling her eyes, she followed him anyway. As they approached the edge of the forest, one of the alien drones appeared, hovering silently before them. Its smooth surface reflected the sunlight, making it look almost otherworldly. Without warning, the drone fired a low-intensity beam at Alex, knocking him off balance. Instinctively, Alex swung the wrench he'd been holding, striking the drone hard enough to dent its casing. Sparks flew, and the machine faltered midair before crashing to the ground. Mia gasped, staring at the wreckage. What asterisk is asterisk that?" Alex didn't answer. Instead, he picked up a piece of the broken drone, examining it closely. It was unlike anything he'd ever seen, lightweight yet incredibly strong. Before they could process what had happened, more drones emerged from the trees, surrounding them. One emitted a high-pitched whine, and suddenly, both Alex and Mia felt a strange tingling sensation wash over them. Their vision blurred, and everything went black. When they woke up, they found themselves aboard the alien ship. The walls around them pulsed faintly with light, and strange symbols floated across translucent screens. Standing nearby was Vrax, towering over them with an expression of mild curiosity. He spoke in a deep, rumbling voice, though his words were incomprehensible. Lyra translated using a handheld device, her tone clipped and mechanical. "You are human," she said. "Explain your actions." Alex blinked, trying to make sense of the situation. "Actions? You attacked us first." Vrax frowned, clearly annoyed. "Primitive creatures should not possess the ability to damage our technology." Mia stepped forward cautiously. "Maybe you underestimated us." For a moment, there was silence. Then Vrax signaled for the humans to be taken away. As they were led down a narrow corridor, Alex glanced at Mia. Despite the fear in her eyes, she looked determined. Whatever lay ahead, they knew one thing for certain. These aliens had no idea who, or what, they were dealing with. Alex and Mia were taken to a large, circular room aboard the alien ship. The walls shimmered with faint lights that changed colors slowly, casting an eerie glow over everything. In the center of the room stood a platform surrounded by strange machines buzzing softly. Vrax watched them closely, his arms crossed, while Lyra operated a control panel nearby. The air felt heavy, and Alex could hear the hum of energy coursing through the ship. "Begin the tests," Vrax ordered, his voice deep and commanding. Lyra nodded and pressed a button. A bright light enveloped Alex and Mia, scanning their bodies from head to toe. At first, they felt nothing, but then a series of sharp clicks and whirs filled the room as the machines analyzed every detail about them: height, weight, muscle density, even brain activity. Alex clenched his fists, trying not to show fear, while Mia kept her eyes fixed on the aliens, studying their movements carefully. When the scan finished, Vrax studied the results displayed on a screen. His expression shifted slightly, though it was hard to tell if he was surprised or simply annoyed. "Their physical strength is minimal," he said aloud. "Yet one of them damaged our drone." "How?" Lyra hesitated before replying. "The male used a tool, a primitive object, to strike the drone. It was not raw power, but ingenuity." Vrax frowned at this. Ingenuity wasn't something the Zorathians valued much. Their empire thrived on brute force and advanced weaponry, not clever tricks or improvisation. Still, he couldn't ignore the fact that these humans had managed to outsmart one of their machines. He decided to test them further. The next challenge came quickly. Alex and Mia were placed in separate chambers, each filled with puzzles designed to measure problem-solving skills. Alex's chamber contained a locked door and several scattered objects: a piece of wire, a shard of glass, and a small metal rod. Without hesitation, he got to work. Using the wire, he picked the lock on a nearby compartment, revealing a hidden lever. Pulling it caused part of the wall to slide open, giving him access to another section of the chamber. Meanwhile, Mia faced a different puzzle, a glowing grid on the floor that lit up in patterns she had to replicate. Though nervous, she focused intently, memorizing the sequences and stepping on the correct tiles in order. Back in the control room, Vrax and Lyra observed the humans' progress. "They are solving these tasks faster than expected," Lyra admitted, her tone neutral but tinged with curiosity. "They are still primitives," Vrax replied dismissively, but doubt lingered in his mind. Why were these creatures so resourceful? Back on Zorathia, such traits were rare. Their society rewarded obedience and strength above all else. In the middle of the testing, Alex noticed something unusual. One of the machines monitoring him emitted a faint buzzing sound whenever he moved closer to it. Experimenting, he waved his hand near the device and realized it responded to motion. Thinking quickly, he grabbed the metal rod from earlier and tapped it against the machine, causing sparks to fly. The distraction gave him enough time to slip past a security field and reach a control panel outside his chamber. Mia, meanwhile, completed her puzzle and found herself face to face with a Zorathian guard. Instead of panicking, she raised her hand slowly, speaking calmly despite her racing heart. "I'm not a threat," she said, knowing they wouldn't understand her language, but hoping her tone would convey peace. To her surprise, the guard hesitated, glancing toward the control room for instructions. When Alex and Mia reunited shortly after, they exchanged quick whispers. "We can use their tech against them," Alex murmured. "It's complicated, but I think I can shut down some systems if we move fast." Before they could act, alarms blared throughout the ship. Vrax stormed into the hallway, his expression furious. "You tampered with our equipment," he roared, pointing at Alex. Alex smirked, surprising himself with his boldness. "Guess you underestimated us again." Vrax growled, ordering the guards to restrain them. As they were led away, Lyra lingered behind, watching silently. Something about the humans intrigued her, their determination, their ability to adapt under pressure. For the first time, she wondered if her people truly understood the species they planned to conquer. Alex and Mia sat in a dimly lit holding cell, their wrists bound by glowing restraints that pulsed faintly with energy. The room was small and cold, with smooth metallic walls that seemed to hum softly. Despite their situation, neither of them looked defeated. Alex leaned against the wall, his mind racing as he tried to think of a way out. Maya sat cross-legged on the floor, her eyes scanning the room for anything they could use. "You okay?" Alex asked quietly, breaking the silence. Mia nodded. "I'm fine. Just thinking." "About what?" "How strange this all is," she replied. "These aliens, they're so advanced, but there's something off about them, like they don't expect us to fight back." Alex smirked. "Maybe because we're supposed to be tiny and weak." Before Maya could respond, the door slid open, and Lyra stepped inside. She carried a tray with 2 small containers of food and set it down without a word. For a moment, she just stood there, studying them. Her expression was unreadable, but there was a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. "Why are you helping them?" Mia blurted out suddenly. "Do you really think invading Earth is the right thing to do?" Lyra hesitated, glancing over her shoulder to make sure no one was watching. Then she knelt down, lowering her voice. "I didn't always agree with our mission here," she admitted, "but questioning orders isn't encouraged among my people." Alex raised an eyebrow. "So why talk to us now?" "Because of what I've seen," Lyra said. "Your ability to adapt, to solve problems with limited resources. It's not something we value on Zorathia. We rely on power and technology. But maybe that's not enough." Mia exchanged a glance with Alex. This was unexpected. They had assumed all the aliens thought the same way, arrogant and dismissive. But Lyra seemed different, almost conflicted. "If you want to help," Alex said cautiously, "you can start by getting these cuffs off." Lyra shook her head. "I can't risk that yet. But I can tell you this. The ship's communication system is vulnerable. If you can disable it, you might be able to send a message back to your planet." Alex's eyes narrowed. "Why would you help us do that?" "Because I believe your people deserve a chance to defend themselves," Lyra replied firmly. "And because I want to see if my doubts about humanity are justified." With that, she stood up and left the cell, leaving Alex and Mia alone again. For a few moments, they sat in silence, processing what had just happened. "She's taking a big risk," Maya finally said. "Yeah," Alex agreed, "but she's given us a shot. Now we just need to figure out how to take it." Using the information Lyra had shared, Alex began examining their surroundings more closely. He noticed that the energy cuffs around their wrists reacted when touched by certain materials. In this case, the metal tray Lyra had brought in. Carefully, he nudged the tray closer with his foot and positioned it near his hands. After several tense minutes of maneuvering, he managed to scrape the edge of the tray against the cuff. Sparks flew, and the restraint loosened slightly. "Almost there," Alex muttered under his breath. Mia watched anxiously, ready to act the moment he broke free. Finally, with a soft click, the cuff fell away. Alex quickly freed Mia, and they both crept toward the door. Peering out into the corridor, they saw 2 Zorathian guards standing nearby. The guards were distracted, chatting in low tones. Alex grabbed a loose piece of equipment lying on the floor, a jagged shard of metal, and held it like a weapon. "Stay behind me," he whispered to Mia. Taking a deep breath, Alex stepped into the hallway. The guards turned, their eyes widening in surprise. Before they could react, Alex lunged forward, swinging the makeshift weapon with precision. One guard stumbled back, clutching his side, while the other reached for his weapon. Maya acted fast, grabbing a nearby tool and throwing it at the second guard. It hit him squarely in the chest, knocking him off balance long enough for Alex to disarm him. With the guards incapacitated, Alex and Mia hurried down the corridor, following Lyra's vague directions toward the communication hub. Every step felt like a gamble, but they pressed on, driven by hope and determination. As they moved deeper into the ship, they couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for everyone back home. And for the first time, They truly believed they might have a chance. Alex and Mia moved quickly through the narrow corridors of the alien ship, their footsteps muffled by the smooth metallic floor. The hum of energy around them was constant, a reminder that they were deep in enemy territory. Every corner they turned felt like a gamble, but they pressed on, driven by the hope of disabling the communication system. Without it, the Zorathians wouldn't be able to call for reinforcements, and Earth would have a fighting chance. As they approached the communication hub, Alex slowed down, signaling for Mia to stay close. The door ahead was guarded by 2 Zorathian soldiers, their towering forms clad in sleek armor. Alex glanced around, searching for anything they could use as a distraction. Spotting a small ventilation panel on the wall, he nudged Mia. "Can you help me with that?" he whispered. Mia nodded and knelt beside him. Together, they pried the panel loose, revealing a tangle of wires inside. Alex hesitated for a moment, then grabbed a loose wire and yanked it free. A sharp crackling sound erupted, followed by sparks that lit up the corridor. The guards turned, startled, and moved toward the source of the noise. Seizing the opportunity, Alex and Mia slipped past them and into the communication hub. The room was filled with glowing screens and pulsating panels, all connected by a web of cables. In the center stood a large console, its surface alive with shifting patterns of light. Alex stepped forward, his brow furrowed in concentration. "This has to be it," he said. "If we can shut this down, we cut them off. But how do we even know what to touch?" Maya asked, her voice low but tinged with urgency. Alex didn't answer immediately. Instead, he scanned the console, looking for something familiar, anything that resembled Earth technology. His eyes landed on a series of switches labeled with symbols that matched those he'd seen earlier on the drone. "These might control the main systems," he muttered. "If I flip them, it could disable the whole thing." Before he could act, the door behind them slid open with a hiss. Vrax stormed in, his expression furious. "You dare sabotage my ship?" he roared, his voice echoing through the room. Alex froze, his hand hovering over the switches. Beside him, Maya tensed, ready to move. "We're not afraid of you," she said boldly, surprising even herself. Vrax sneered. "Your defiance is meaningless. You are nothing compared to us." At that moment, Lyra appeared at the doorway, her face pale but resolute. "Commander," she said, stepping forward, "this must stop. These humans are proving to be more than we anticipated. Perhaps conquest isn't the answer." Vrax's eyes narrowed. "You betray your own kind for these primitives." "I question whether our methods are right," Lyra replied firmly. "And so should you." For a brief moment, Vrax looked uncertain. Then his expression hardened, and he raised his weapon, aiming it directly at Lyra. "Then you leave me no choice." But before he could fire, Alex made his move. He flipped the switches on the console, plunging the room into darkness. Alarms blared, and emergency lights flickered on, casting the space in a red glow. Chaos erupted as the guards rushed in, their movements disoriented by the sudden loss of power. "Go," Alex shouted, grabbing Maya's hand. They darted toward the exit, dodging the confused aliens. Behind them, Lyra stood her ground, blocking Vrax's path. "You'll regret this," she said, her voice steady despite the danger. Alex and Mia didn't look back. They sprinted through the corridors, following the faint hum of engines that led to the hangar bay. Along the way, they encountered other prisoners, humans who had been taken from different parts of Earth. Some were scientists, others farmers or ordinary citizens, but all shared the same look of fear and determination. "We're getting out of here," Alex told them. "Follow us if you want to live." The group moved together, their numbers growing as they freed more captives. When they reached the hangar, Alex spotted a small shuttle parked nearby. It wasn't heavily guarded, likely because the Zorathians hadn't expected anyone to escape. Alex climbed aboard first, examining the controls. Though alien, the layout wasn't entirely unfamiliar. With Maya's help, he managed to start the engine. As the shuttle lifted off, Alex glanced out the window. Below, the massive mothership loomed, its lights flickering erratically. For the first time, he allowed himself a small smile. They had done it. They had struck back against the invaders. But deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The fight for Earth was far from over. Back on Earth, the small town where Alex and Mia had been taken was buzzing with activity. Sheriff Logan Hayes paced near the edge of the forest, his boots crunching against the dry leaves. The disappearance of two well-known locals had sent ripples of fear through the community. People whispered about strange lights in the sky and eerie sounds coming from the woods. Logan wasn't one to jump to conclusions, but even he couldn't ignore the evidence scattered around. A broken piece of alien metal, faint scorch marks on the ground, and Alex's abandoned wrench lying nearby. Dr. Emily Dawson arrived just as Logan was examining the wreckage. The linguist by trade, she specialized in decoding ancient languages, but her skills had made her a go-to expert for anything mysterious. Her dark hair was tied back neatly, and she carried a satchel filled with tools and notebooks. "Sheriff," she greeted him, her voice calm but curious. "What have you found?" Logan pointed to the symbols etched into the metal fragment. "This doesn't look like anything human, and those marks over there could be from some kind of weapon." Emily knelt down, studying the symbols carefully. "It's not random. These patterns repeat. Whoever made this wanted to communicate something or leave a message." As they worked together, news of the disappearances spread beyond the town. Reports poured in from other areas about similar sightings. Glowing ships, strange noises, and people vanishing without a trace. Governments around the world began taking notice. At first, many dismissed the claims as hoaxes or panic, but when hacked transmissions from the alien ship reached Earth, everything changed. The intercepted messages were garbled and incomplete, but they contained enough information to confirm humanity's worst fears. An invasion was imminent. Scientists, military leaders, and ordinary citizens scrambled to prepare. In hidden bunkers and makeshift labs, teams worked tirelessly to decipher the alien language and understand their technology. Emily became a key figure in these efforts, piecing together fragments of the symbols found at various abduction sites. Slowly, a clearer picture emerged. The aliens, calling themselves the Zorathians, viewed humans as insignificant and planned to strip Earth of its resources. But what truly galvanized humanity was the data transmitted by Alex and Mia. Using stolen equipment aboard the shuttle, they'd broadcasted critical details about the Zorathian fleet's weaknesses. Their message reached Earth just as global leaders convened for an emergency summit. For the first time in history, nations set aside their differences and united under a single goal: survival. In rural areas, farmers like Ryan Bennett converted old tractors and trucks into mobile barricades. Mechanics like Jake Thompson retrofitted civilian vehicles with crude weapons scavenged from scrapyards. Teachers, doctors, and shopkeepers volunteered to help in any way they could. Even children pitched in, collecting materials and spreading awareness. It was a movement born out of desperation, but also hope. Meanwhile, pilots like Samantha Rivera trained relentlessly, preparing to face an enemy far more advanced than anything they'd encountered before. Fighter jets were equipped with EMP devices reverse-engineered from the alien tech Alex and Mia had described. Though rudimentary, these weapons gave humanity a fighting chance. As preparations continued, the Zorathians launched probing attacks, testing Earth's defenses. Small scout ships descended in isolated regions, attempting to gather more prisoners and resources. But humanity was ready. Guerrilla tactics proved surprisingly effective against the invaders, who relied on overwhelming force rather than strategy. Ordinary people armed with little more than courage and ingenuity managed to hold their own. One such battle took place near Logan's town. When a Zorathian drone appeared overhead, residents sprang into action. Using smoke bombs made from household chemicals and traps rigged from farming equipment, they forced the drone to crash. Logan himself led a group of volunteers in dismantling the wreckage, collecting valuable components to study. Each victory, no matter how small, boosted morale. Humanity realized it wasn't just fighting for survival, it was proving that strength wasn't measured by size or technology alone. Courage, creativity, and unity were weapons just as powerful. As the days passed, the planet braced itself for the inevitable full-scale invasion. But one thing was certain: Earth would not go down without a fight. The day of the invasion arrived with a deafening roar. The sky darkened as hundreds of Zorathian ships descended, their sleek forms blotting out the sun. Cities trembled under the shadow of the massive fleet, and panic spread like wildfire. But humanity was ready. Across the globe, alarms blared, signaling the start of what would become Earth's greatest battle. In the skies above North America, pilots like Samantha Rivera took to their retrofitted fighter jets. Each plane was equipped with EMP devices designed to disable the alien ship's systems. Samantha's heart raced as she soared higher, her eyes locked on a cluster of enemy vessels. "This is it," she muttered to herself, gripping the controls tightly. Beside her, Jake Thompson flew in formation, his face pale but determined. "Stay sharp," came the voice of Commander Hayes over the radio. "Hit them hard and fast." Samantha nodded, even though no one could see her. She accelerated toward the nearest Zorathian cruiser, releasing a burst of electromagnetic energy. The ship shuddered, its lights flickering before going completely dark. Cheers erupted in her headset as other pilots reported similar successes. For the first time, humanity had struck a real blow against the invaders. On the ground, militias led by Sheriff Logan Hayes fought back with equal determination. Using explosives rigged from fertilizer and scrap metal, they targeted grounded Zorathian ships. Ryan Bennett, the farmer-turned-soldier, drove a truck loaded with homemade bombs straight into an enemy transport vessel. The explosion sent shockwaves through the battlefield, scattering debris and forcing the aliens to retreat temporarily. But the Zorathians weren't giving up easily. Their larger ships unleashed devastating beams of energy, leveling buildings and scorching the earth. Civilians scrambled for cover as chaos engulfed the streets. Yet, amid the destruction, acts of bravery shone brightly. A group of teachers used school buses to evacuate children, shielding them from falling debris. Doctors set up field hospitals in basements, treating the wounded without pause. Back aboard the stolen shuttle, Alex and Mia watched the battle unfold from orbit. They had transmitted all the data they could gather about the Zorathian fleet, but now they felt powerless. "We have to do more," Maya said, her voice trembling with frustration. "There has to be something." Alex stared at the monitors, his mind racing. Then he spotted it, a weak point in the mothership's defenses. "The core reactor," he said suddenly. "If we can hit that, it'll cripple their entire fleet." Mia's eyes widened. "That's suicide." "It's our only shot," Alex replied firmly. Without waiting for her response, he adjusted the shuttle's course, aiming directly for the massive alien vessel. As they approached, Lyra's voice crackled over the comm system. She had managed to survive Vrax's wrath and was now helping humanity covertly. "I've disabled external defenses around the reactor," she said. "You'll have a small window to strike." "Thanks, Lyra," Alex said, his voice filled with gratitude. He glanced at Mia. "Ready?" Mia took a deep breath and nodded. "Let's finish this." The shuttle dove toward the mothership, dodging blasts of energy from the remaining Zorathian fighters. Inside the ship, Vrax roared orders, furious that his forces were struggling against such primitive opponents. But his anger turned to shock when the shuttle breached the hull, heading straight for the reactor chamber. With seconds to spare, Alex activated the shuttle's last EMP device, channeling all its power into a single concentrated blast. The reactor destabilized instantly, sending violent surges throughout the ship. Alarms screamed as the mothership began to break apart. Outside, the human forces watched in awe as the once mighty vessel exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Debris rained down, and the remaining Zorathian ships faltered. Their coordination shattered. One by one, they retreated, fleeing Earth's atmosphere. On the ground, cheers erupted. Strangers hugged, tears streaming down their faces. Humanity had won. For now. As the dust settled, Alex and Mia guided the damaged shuttle back toward Earth, their hearts heavy but hopeful. They knew the fight wasn't truly over, but they also knew one thing for certain. Humans were far stronger than anyone, including themselves, had ever imagined. The aftermath of the battle left Earth scared but alive with a newfound sense of unity. Smoke still hung in the air over cities and towns, and the ground bore the deep craters of alien attacks. Yet, amid the wreckage, humanity began to rebuild. People worked side by side, clearing debris, tending to the injured, and comforting those who had lost loved ones. The victory had come at a cost, but it also brought hope, a reminder that even the smallest acts of courage could make a difference. Alex and Mia returned as heroes, their shuttle landing in a field near Loganstown. When they stepped out, exhausted but unbroken, a crowd gathered around them. Some cheered, others simply stared in disbelief. These two ordinary people had risked everything to protect their world. Logan approached them first, his hat in hand. "You did it," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You gave us a fighting chance." Mia managed a weak smile. "We couldn't have done it alone." Everyone played a part. News of their actions spread quickly. Reporters, scientists, and government officials descended on the town, eager to hear their story. Alex and Mia recounted their time aboard the alien ship, the tests, the sabotage, and Lyra's unexpected help. Their words painted a picture of resilience and ingenuity, inspiring millions around the globe. For the first time in history, humanity felt truly connected, bound together by a shared struggle. Meanwhile, high above Earth, the remnants of the Zorathian fleet regrouped in orbit. Vrak stood silently on the bridge of his damaged command ship, his pride shattered. He had underestimated the humans, and now his empire faced humiliation. Beside him, Lyra watched cautiously, knowing her betrayal would not go unpunished. But she felt no regret. What she had seen among the humans, courage, compassion, and an unyielding will to survive, had changed her forever. Back on Earth, preparations continued. Scientists studied the wreckage of downed Zorathian ships, reverse engineering their technology to strengthen Earth's defenses. Dr. Emily Dawson became a key figure in these efforts, decoding alien symbols and unlocking secrets that would aid humanity in future battles. Her work revealed that the Zorathians were not just invaders but scavengers, traveling from planet to planet, stripping resources until nothing remained. This knowledge only hardened humanity's resolve to never let such a fate befall Earth. In the weeks that followed, stories of heroism emerged from every corner of the globe. Samantha Rivera and Jake Thompson were celebrated as icons of bravery, their names spoken alongside those of soldiers and volunteers who had fought valiantly. Farmers like Ryan Bennett donated food and supplies to devastated regions, while teachers organized programs to help children cope with trauma. Even small acts of kindness, sharing meals, offering shelter, became symbols of humanity's strength. But not all wounds healed easily. Many families mourned the loss of loved ones, and some survivors struggled with the memories of war. Mia often found herself staring at the horizon, wondering if the peace would last. Alex noticed her quiet moments and always made sure to sit beside her. "We made it through once," he told her gently. "If they come back, we'll do it again." As days turned into months, Earth began to recover. New alliances formed between nations, built on trust rather than treaties. Space programs expanded rapidly, fueled by the determination to defend the planet against future threats. Satellites equipped with advanced sensors monitored the skies, ensuring that humanity would never be caught off guard again. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alex and Mia stood together outside the rebuilt garage where their journey had begun. The stars twinkled faintly, a reminder of how vast the universe was and how much there was still to learn. "Do you think they'll come back?" Mia asked softly. Alex shrugged. "Maybe. But if they do, we'll be ready." For the first time in a long while, Mia smiled. A genuine, hopeful smile. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger. Whatever the future held, one thing was certain. Earth was no longer the same fragile planet the Zorathians had dismissed as weak. It was home to a species capable of incredible resilience, and they had proven it to the stars. Months passed, and life on Earth began to settle into a new rhythm. The scars of the invasion were still visible: craters in fields, shattered buildings, and memorials for those who had lost their lives. But so was the spirit of renewal. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and emerged stronger, united by a shared purpose. People worked together, rebuilding not just their homes, but also their trust in one another. Vrax, the Zorathian commander, remained stranded on Earth after his fleet's retreat. His once proud demeanor had faded, replaced by a quiet resignation. Captured by human forces, he was held in a secure facility where scientists observed him closely. At first, Vrax refused to cooperate, his pride preventing him from acknowledging the humans as equals. But over time, something shifted. He began to notice the way these primitive beings interacted, their kindness toward one another, their creativity in solving problems, and their determination to protect their world. One day, Dr. Emily Dawson visited the facility. She carried a small device designed to translate her words into Vrax's language. Standing before him, she spoke calmly. "Why did your people attack us?" she asked, her tone gentle but firm. Vrax hesitated, then replied, "We saw weakness. We thought you would be easy to conquer." Emily nodded slowly. "And now?" Vrax looked away, his voice quieter. "Now I see. Strength. Not in weapons or size, but in how you care for each other. My people have forgotten that." His words surprised Emily. For the first time, she realized that the Zorathians were not so different from humans. They were flawed, shaped by their own history and choices. Instead of punishing Vrax further, humanity chose compassion. They offered him a chance to learn about Earth, hoping that understanding might prevent future conflict. Meanwhile, Alex and Mia continued to play key roles in preparing for whatever challenges lay ahead. They traveled across the globe, sharing their story and inspiring others. In schools, they taught children about teamwork and innovation. In labs, they helped engineers adapt alien technology to improve daily life. Their message was simple: humanity's greatest weapon was its ability to work together. Lyra, too, had found a place among humans. After disabling the mothership's defenses, she had escaped aboard a damaged Zorathian vessel and returned to Earth voluntarily. Though wary at first, people welcomed her with open minds. Lyra worked alongside scientists, teaching them about Zorathian technology and culture. In return, she learned about human values, empathy, resilience, and hope. For the first time, she felt like she belonged somewhere. As years went by, Earth flourished. New cities rose from the ashes of old ones, powered by clean energy derived from alien designs. Space exploration advanced rapidly, with missions launched to explore nearby planets and ensure humanity's safety. The lessons learned from the invasion became part of global education systems, reminding future generations of what could be achieved through unity. On a quiet evening, Alex and Mia stood together under a starry sky. Nearby, children laughed as they played, their laughter echoing through the cool night air. "Do you ever wonder what's out there?" Maya asked, gesturing toward the stars. "All the time," Alex replied. "But no matter what happens, we'll face it together." Far above, orbiting satellites kept watch, ensuring Earth would never again be caught unprepared. Below, humanity thrived, forever changed by the events that had tested its limits. The Zorathians' mistake had been underestimating the very qualities that made humans unique: courage, creativity, and an unshakable belief in a better tomorrow. In the end, both species had learned valuable lessons. The Zorethians discovered that true strength came not from domination, but from connection. And humanity realized that even in its smallest moments of kindness and bravery, it carried the power to change the universe.